Good morning once again. I have named my message this morning, "Let me put a stone in your cairn." So now may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable unto you, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Many of you know that my husband and I recently traveled to India to see our daughter who's there for a year. A singular experience about which I could bore you for hours, describing the beauties and the challenges facing this developing nation that is teeming with population. One of the more mundane yet prominent challenges, particularly for the newcomer, is the virtual absence, get this, of street signs. Whether you're in Mumbai with a population of 20 million, in the metropolitan area, Chennai, only 8.5 million, yet one of the most densely populated cities in the world, you can travel for blocks and blocks without having a clue what street you're on. And while you can eventually probably figure it out by looking at some of the businesses that might have a sign out front, you can pretty much write off seeing a crossroads sign at an intersection. Thankfully, the taxi and rickshaw drivers generally knew how to navigate these chaotic streets. Yet on more than one occasion, they too were known to stop to ask for directions. Might seem like a rather random thing to highlight in a very exciting trip, but believe me, it's disorienting to be in a large city teeming with people and feel so baffled by one's location. Being lost amidst chaos is a possibility in the cities of India. Feeling lost could also surely occur in the highlands of Scotland, not because of confusing streets, but rather because of the vastness of empty spaces. The region, while beautiful, can seem desolate and lonely. Indeed, it's one of the most sparsely populated areas of Europe, with mountain ranges and the highest peak in the British Isles. Now, the train isn't really high by international standards, but the unpredictable weather patterns that are caused by the meeting of the Atlantic and the European airstreams gives the highlands a rather harsh and at times even ominous veneer. So how does one define and mark and name a territory that could otherwise feel forlorn and lost? Cairns, a Gaelic term which denotes the stacks or piles of stones that dot the landscape of the highlands. They range in size from small stone markers to entire artificial hills, and they vary in complexity from loose conical rock piles to delicately balanced sculptures and elaborate feats of megalithic engineering. Cairns can serve as a monument to an event, a landmark of a special location. They can be burial mounds, and also they can serve as markers on a trail to help you find your way. Stones, large and small, rough-hewn or weather-beaten and smooth, placed one on top of the other to give direction or meaning to a journey. Carrying a stone from the bottom of the valley to be placed on the top of an existing cairn has become part of Scottish folklore as intriguing, curious sights emerge. An ancient Scottish blessing, Curid Miclach du Cairn, means I will put a stone on your cairn. Cairns, markers for our path, can be like anchors and guides, but also can be overlooked or unnoticed if we are not looking for them. By the way, just as cairns are part of the lore of the Highlands, as we noted, Scottish Sunday is part of the lore of this congregation. The founding pastor, Pastor Lutter of Christ the King, and his family had a sabbatical in Scotland years ago and came back for a love of its culture and traditions. So a Scottish Sunday emerged and has never gone away. Who can resist the haunting sounds of the bagpipes and a satisfying morsel of shortbread? This year, Scottish Sunday happens to fall on a significant day in our church year, Transfiguration Sunday, a Sunday that marks the end of the Epiphany season, which focuses on the light of Christ coming into the world and flooding it with God's saving grace. And it's also a Sunday that serves as a segue to Lent, which begins on Wednesday with Ash Wednesday, when our contemplation takes on a more somber tone.